Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to today's episode of Talking Point. I'm your host, Syed Neaz Ahmad. In our studios today, we have a diplomat, a writer, a journalist, in short, a gentleman and a scholar, otherwise known as Nadeem Qadir. He is Press Minister at Bangladesh High Commission in London. Welcome to the show, Nadeem.
Thank you, Neaz bhai. Thank you. You have said too many objectives about me. I'm just a simple man. I try to do my work. But thank you very much for having me.
It is a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to welcome a person from the same profession that I think I belong to. It was a pleasure also to interview your information minister. And when I had introduced him as meeting a foreign minister, an information minister is always a pleasure for any journalist, because we have some sweet and some very sweet. And this pause was intended, see.
Yeah, and I was very honored to come to your program when I arrived in London almost 2 years back.
Yes, well, you're always welcome.
Thank you so much.
I understand that recently you have published another book.
The
book is
yes,
Liberation
I have a copy for you.
War Heroes. I think the book is The Untold Stories, isn't it?
Right. In Bangla, it's Mukti Juddha Jana Adhyay. It's published by Jagriti Prakashani.
Right.
Yes, but this book is the second edition, which came out in the book fair, Ekushe Boimala in Dhaka this year. The first edition was published in 2015. As I told my audience,
is it what they say, improved new edition?
You can say so, because it's not only improved, I think. The first edition was done very quickly, so the lot of very, very important information, because I can't go on writing this, for ages, so I'm also forgetting things. So so there has been major additions to it. And I felt honored that people like Abdul Ghaffar Chaudhry, Nawab Bhai, or the ex-president of the London Bangla Press Club, they've all said that it was a book of history, and a fact of history. And I tell to my audience and to you that I touch my heart. There's not a single lie in this book.
Right.
Rather, I have tried to, some of the informations will help straighten the history of the country's war. And this is for you.
Thank you very much. Can you focus on the book, please? The Untold Story. The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the
whole truth.
When any book is written and it says the untold story, you see, it takes quite some time for the book to be published and the writer to decide to write. And during that time, a lot of things are leaked to the general and ordinary public, see. So how much of it is untold?
You see, that happens to the great writers, and I'm just somebody, nobody. So there was no keen interest about this book, and nobody knew I was writing it. So except for my publisher and my editor of the book. So, but it was more difficult for me to do this job sitting in London and getting it published from Dhaka. But I want to recall the owner of this publishing house, Jagriti Prakashani, Mr. Deepon, who was killed by Islamist terrorists soon after this book's publication. And now his wife runs the publication house. And she is courageous, because I promised Deepon that, because he said you have to have a second edition. So I told Deepon that I will, and when he was killed, when I met his wife, I said, I want to keep the promise I made to him, but it's up to you, because if you can take it or leave it. So she said, no, I have read your book the first time, and you made a promise to Deepon. I'm sure he wanted it. So with a lot of courage, she has done it. So
what motivated you to do this work? I mean,
you see, this is an account of the war, but mainly because there were a lot of reports and other things, write-ups about my search for my freedom fighter father, who was killed in the 1971 war. So because it took 36 years for me to find his grave eventually. So this was of lot of interest to the people of Bangladesh and outside, and it was a journey which had mostly of pain and knowing people, how they can be so cruel with a son who's looking for his father. But of course, there are wonderful people who finally stood with me, and finally, when I found his grave, I was lucky that the authorities at the time, it was during the 111, the special military-backed government, but the military regime was very kind at the time that when I approached them, they stopped, there was some construction going on near the place, so they stopped the construction until the elections were held and all that. And so that's why a lot of people told me you should write your episode of finding your father or his grave. And that's what triggered, first of all. And the search was triggered because of my mother, Hasnaina Qadir. She passed away in '99. She never believed that my father has been killed, although we knew he has not been, he did not come back, so obviously he's killed somewhere. And she used to tell me that unless you have proof, I will never believe. I still think he'll come back. Unfortunately, when I found the grave, and when Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, what would I say, in 2011, I requested the Prime Minister to protect the grave because it was in a public area. But she has a great heart, and she ordered the reburial of my father in Qadirabad cantonment in Nator district in Bangladesh, where my father is, it is named after my father for his contribution to the war. And he was on 22nd September 2011, he was reburied. His remains were brought from Chittagong to with full state and military honors.
So is this book exclusively about your father?
No, it is mostly about my father's, how I was searching about him and all those things. But there are other things that came in, parts of the history of that was happening at the time, what was my father doing, his meeting with General Zia, who was a major at the time, what happened then, and some very personal episodes also, which were very close to this search and the other things. So you can say some of the sibling things had come out here also, because I couldn't avoid it, because it's all I thought was part of the history that I was trying to create.
What would you like the reader to share with? I mean, you share with the reader and the audience today that has not been shared before. Is there something?
Well, yeah, there are a couple of things. Right. Number one is I've quoted the freedom fighter Major Rafiqul Islam Bir Uttam, retired. He's a MP of the ruling Awami League now, and my father and he were very close leading to the war and all that. So he told me, because he wrote about my father in his book A Tale of Millions, and he told me that in fact your father would have read the Proclamation of Independence by Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, but he did not arrive in time and we were running out. So the next senior man to him was Major Ziaur Rahman, the late president, and he read out the message. So it was, what I tried to say was, don't take heroism out of a sudden incident. Yes, you were there, you read the news. I think we respect you for that you showed your allegiance to Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the leader of the war, and we should respect everyone's deeds.
Whoever fought for the nation.
Yes, for the nation, but who's our leadership? It is, of course, my father in active service met Bangabandhu in '68. From then, the war preparations have started. That's what I've indicated here. That, as many people say, a lot of things, garbage. But this is my personal experience. I know these things. Some of it I've taken from my mother. So it is definitely, unquestionably, it is father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, who dreamt of Bangladesh, imbued his people with the idea. That's why there were millions in the Surwadi on March 7, 1971. And he asked them on March 7, what did he say? Ebare Shangram, Muktir Sangram, Ebarer Sangram.
Well, that explains everything.
So that one line says everything. So why all this controversy? Why can't we believe in, accept the facts of history and march forward to build a good Bangladesh? Because most people, I don't know. I lost my father. I seen my mother struggle to bring us up. I'm pained. I had to struggle. I struggle every day. And that's why I want, is a good Bangladesh.
No, I can bear you out because I had MP Colonel Shaukat. He was at that time Deputy Speaker of the Assembly.
Very good friend of my father.
Yes, he was here. Very kindly he had consented when he was visiting London, and he said that he was part of the Agartala quote-unquote conspiracy and the plan to new country, and he said that we did plan.
Of course.
We did plan. I was part of it. We did plan.
So my father was taken to Bangabandhu by General Osmani in 1968, and we are talking about 1971. So it was a huge lot of preparation. So all these things, so I just wanted to tell people, my readers, that please believe me. You can take me to the lie detector, but what I have written are facts.
I think it even goes before that, because I can tell you that Sheikh Mujib's house was on road number 32, and not very far from there was my in-laws' place, and Khalid Musharraf used to come. He was a captain then, come from West Pakistan at that time, and then and I know that Bangabandhu used to walk down, or Khalid Musharraf would walk down to number 32, and they would for hours discuss things, and my mother-in-law was horrified because what is going to happen, what is happening, you see. So things go back.
My father used to go out for meeting with the Major Rafiq and the rest of the group, and she was also worried what's happening, and my father, on 7th March, some of her relatives, he telephoned them to Dhaka and said, what did happen? Bangabandhu said, oh, we're going to have a free, and he was shouting Jai Bangla. It is not Awami League slogan, it is the slogan of independence. So my mother told him, you're an active army officer, don't do that, you'll be in trouble. Because my mother didn't know he was so much involved. And it is Bangabandhu who told my mother that I met your husband in '68, and he cried. He was such a committed man, such a committed soldier to see an independent Bangladesh. So I don't know what else to say about this, all this garbage that has happened since 1975 about history. And few things I think need to be told to people, that we who have lost our loved and dear ones did not have a bed of roses since we lost that. Whatever we had were taken away from us in 1975 afterwards.
Well, Nadeem, Qadir, we have to take a break.
Okay.
And then when we come back, we'll discuss this issue again and again. Thank you for being with us. Don't go away. We'll come back after this.